Good evening. Welcome to the stream. Just checking everything as per usual. Music's on. I think you can hear me. I think we are good to go. Perfect. So we do a quick overview of what I've been up to. Get rid of those, turn on that, turn on that. So I've been doing more template work, just getting all the various panels and things, all the right shape and the right size and everything where it should be. Trying to figure out what I'm doing with the floor panels around here. Ideally, I'd like the join to line up with the wall panel, but that kind of messes up here on this corner. So I'm just figuring out how to do that. Obviously we've got a curve there that we need to manage. And on that note, why don't I go ahead and get rid of that bit. I need a copy of the curve. So the goal here is no single floor panel or wall panel should really be any bigger than 2.5 meters to try and keep everything contained and manageable. So ideally, this needs to be 3 panels along here. That's it, yeah. This is the building regs. So I'm thinking doing a join across there might be the best way forward. It doesn't do that. Stop creating faces that we don't need. We can do another join sort of there somewhere. You're welcome, Mr. Brian. And it's going to be a regular build cadence now. So every Friday night, I would be sticking a new build out. That's not necessarily the same time Friday night, but Friday night somewhere. Yeah, so if this panel kind of does that, I actually went ahead and upgraded to the latest version of SketchUp because I was getting annoyed with, 1, how slow it was getting, and 2, it keeps creating these additional faces. And I was hoping upgrading would fix that, but it hasn't, annoyingly. And all the icons are different, so that's confusing me a bit. Good evening, NCC 71201. Which ship is that? Zenevent, yes we did. Prometheus. Cool. Yeah, we got the payouts about a week ago, I think it was. Something like that. It's still a bit of a blur at the moment, so it's one day keeps blending into the next. So, in case anyone is interested, that was £264,000. Sorry, £364,000 after fees and deductions and all that stuff. That's right, yeah. So we're already speaking to one Unreal generalist, which is actually one of our old team members from Stage 9. So that would be cool if we can bring them on board. And that aside, the first two major hires will be, we need a web dev rather urgently, because a lot of the tools and systems I'm planning really require the website to have a lot of functionality associated with what's happening in the game. So yeah, that's one of our first hires, and also a concept artist to work with all the backers on their ship designs and that sort of thing. Oh yes, and Scotty, of course. Sorry, Scotty. Yes, and Scott of England there, who I need to make a moderator actually. But Scotty is one of our old QA guys, again, joining us from the old Stage 9 days, who is now formally on contract. This is a really awkward corner, this. Alright, so I think I'm going to separate that bit. Separate group. I don't need that bit, so that should be nicely self-contained. Which means this bit here becomes null. Because that's a template, we'll take that all the way to the back there. See, this is the thing I was hoping it would stop doing if I upgraded. It keeps adding additional faces on top of existing faces. Really quite frustrating. It's added one there too. Right, so that piece there, that's our next template piece. That. So if we take this to the middle of the stairwell, that's to there, about 10 centimeters. I just had a bit of a blip on the stream on my side. I'm assuming you can all still see and hear me. Good, good. Oh, that's weird. Why is it doing that? I'll see how this looks when I actually model it properly. But I think I will do the carpet split like that. If not, I'll do a diagonal across there. So where we are on the ship right now, this is the rear of C deck. So you've got the probe facility there. That's going to have like a 3D print bed for probes and all sorts of stuff. And then either side of that, at the back, you'll have a stairwell going down to the upper part of the shuttle bay. That's kind of how you'll get to that. Okay. So the other thing I did is I added additional bulkheads on this ring and down here. And you might think that one's in an odd place, being that it's not sort of equidistant from this one. The reason being is that there won't be windows here, which means there will be sort of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 windows there, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 there. 6 each side. Yeah, so that equalizes the number of windows each side of the bulkhead, which obviously can't have a window. Just makes it look more balanced from the outside of the ship. Then on this side, it's going to be a case of 2, 2, 2, and 2. Yeah, there will be, well, there probably won't be any cargo elevators up at this level. I say probably because there could be. Yeah, that the back of the shuttle bay is probably going to be about here. So in actual fact, there could be a cargo elevator going all the way down. I guess the question is, why would you need one? Yeah, I'll have a think on that. So we're going to be moving on to doing D deck very soon, because like in engine right now, we zoom down here. No, I'm lost. Where are we? Over here. So the floors of C deck are essentially the roof of D deck, and because we haven't done D deck here, it means there's no floor for C deck yet. So that really means that D deck needs to be built out in that space, and also back here as well. So with this being the probe room, again, it has no floor for half of it because D deck's not done. So that's one of them chicken and egg scenarios that we need to sort out. So I will get onto that reasonably soon. My plan right now is to get the majority of C deck as finished as it can be, so that there are no holes, every window has glass in it, and essentially it's together. It has external hull plating, and it's as finished as it can be, short of actually having rooms that are fleshed out with, you know, interiors. Then I need to get the sensors console completely finished and polished, and at that point I think we're good for a new demo build. There's a couple of other bits and pieces, like I need to set no head bob up as the default rather than something you switch to. So we'll swap head bob and no head bob around in the order when you're cycling through cameras. I'll probably stick the external ship camera as part of that cycle on cameras as well, so you can just go to the external ship camera wherever you are. Although obviously you won't be able to move it unless you're in the helm chair. And there's a few other bits and pieces that just need polishing for the demo build. When you say templates, Aaron, do you mean these templates here? In which case, yes, I'm constantly sharing them. So that is the C deck one, and I never made one for B deck, so I've been sort of fixing that. So this would be the B deck one at the moment, but obviously that needs some extra bits filling in, and it needs all these rooms up here doing as well. You can roll the ship if you press 7 and 9 on the numpad. Those are the roll controls. If you have a numpad, that is. The main elevator, I guess that's just a system I need to do. It shouldn't be too complicated. I'm not going to go down the rabbit hole of, you know, what is the most efficient up and down elevator system for you know, efficiently handling decks and passengers. It's just going to be a simple queue-based system, so it'll be a first come first serve depending on who presses the button on which deck, and it will just go up and down accordingly. So it's not going to be complicated, it's just it's not high on the priority list right now. I imagine we'll get the decks themselves reasonably fleshed out before I spend time working on the elevator itself. Yeah, the basic life and things like Roche limits. In fact, Roche limits are already in. The basic life is going to be part of the UI update on the sensors. So when we do the planetary scanning side of that, which again is part of the actual UI overhaul itself, I need to start generating the basics of alien life as part of doing that. So it's not a case of just polishing up the UI, it also needs some background code as well for actually generating that data. Fredichet, yeah, that's the rabbit hole I don't particularly want to go down. There was a website I was playing with a few months back where you basically you can mess with the code on an elevator to try and move the most passengers in the shortest period of time, and it was a fun little challenge, but I don't think our elevator needs to be that complicated. It just needs to serve passengers. Maybe in time. But for now, it can just go up and down. Right, I need to split this. So while you're at FTL, it won't let you collide with the planet. So you'll get alarm bells and it will automatically drop you out of FTL. If you then ignore all the alarms and continue to sublight towards a planet or a star, then as you approach a certain altitude, the ship will burn up and be destroyed. Essentially, no, you won't be able to override the safety because it's more of a game mechanics thing. Because of the way we move space around the ship, we can't have the planetary surface rendered at all in addition to the main ship or the main ship interior. So we can't let the two get too close. So game mechanics wise, there needs to be some kind of barrier preventing the interior of the starship getting anywhere near planetary surfaces. We could certainly render it as a cutscene. I think I will do the cut for this particular framework section along here. Okay, so that essentially becomes our block that we're going to export. Kind of works out nicely doing it that way because it means that the cut line is where the bulkhead is. And it's practically in the middle, so that's good enough. Hi Jamie, we're not planning any additional Kickstarters anytime soon. We might have a look at doing one when it comes to doing the actual expansions. Obviously they're going to require voice acting talent and a lot of other resources. Making a full campaign like that is a lot more work than just doing the sandbox that we're doing for early access. So we might go ahead and do another Kickstarter for that. But in the meantime, we've put our most popular tiers on the Ko-fi shop. So if you check the description of this video, you'll see the link to that in there. Essentially, that's the same rewards we had on Kickstarter for the same amount. So same again here. I need to cut this one on a diagonal. And I guess that's going to be that line there. So you can go through there. Which means we don't need any of that. Then that would go through that line there. Which means we don't need that. Or that. Or that. Yeah, if we just soften that, get rid of them. Oops. Just realised I'm missing a couple of plugins with the upgrade. I'll grab them in a sec. Get rid of all of that. Why did it paste the middle bit? Of course you don't line up. What a surprise. Okay, so if we use the framework itself as our ground truth, that's the one that's wrong. Okay, so that should be our sheet metal. When the ship is collecting gas from gas giants, you're only going to be skimming the upper atmosphere. And that's different, so we're not having to load things like rocks and trees and creatures and all the complex detail that you'll get on the surface of a planet. It'll literally just be a volumetric cloud actor that's moving around. It's a lot less stuff than the planetary surface. And that's really the issue. It's the volume of stuff that you're moving around. Right, so I need... fix it. Where is that? That one. Draven, thanks. Yeah, it's I guess you could call it an obsession. So yeah, I am very much obsessed with detail. So, you know, when it comes to, you know, building starships like this, questions like, you know, how is the framework itself separated out, you know, it is quite a relevant question. Because when it comes to, you know, how would this thing be built, you need to think about, you know, how would these things actually be joined up. Yes, Don, shuttles. Shuttles and other small craft will be the only way you can get down to planetary surfaces. None of the big FTL ships will be able to, simply because, again, we have to move space around the ship rather than the ship through space in order to have large complex interiors. Games like Elite, they can have real-time planetary landings on their main ships because they don't have walkable interiors, which is just my theory as to why you're forced to sit down when fleet carriers jump. So Elite Dangerous is built on the Cobra engine, and again, this is pure speculation on my part. I don't know anything officially, but I would hazard a guess that the reason they don't have ship interiors is because the Cobra engine simply can't do that. You would need to have a movable physics simulation, which is separate from the external simulation. So if you think about it, the ability to have a ship at any angle and be able to walk around it means that physics state needs to align with the ship, regardless of what the gravity well is that the ship is orbiting around. And I think the fact that fleet carriers force you to sit down when they jump is kind of, you know, indicative of that. So I don't think it would be possible to have ship interiors in Elite without a major engine overhaul, and I can't see that happening anytime soon. Yeah, Star Citizen is slightly different because they have localized physics grids. So their ships have moving physics volumes that kind of, the ship itself is a separate physics state to outside of the ship, and that physics state moves around with the ship. It's a level of tech far beyond anything we're doing. So, essentially something has to give. If you're doing real-time planetary landings and all that sort of thing, then you can't really have walkable interiors, because at some point there needs to be a static physics state. Since when did we have Kofi bot? Yeah, I don't actually know why the sensor date just doubled up on the dev build right now. It's going to be something silly. I just haven't looked into it. Yeah, I must have done. Although, yeah, I suppose I must have done. I mean, this is the StarSim account itself. So this isn't my personal YouTube account I'm using. Thanks, Jamie. Much appreciated. So theoretically, if I turn on C-Deck top, we should have something that aligns with this. Yeah, the Destiny from Stargate Universe is probably my favourite ship of all time, so yeah, I'd love to get licensing to do that. And I'm also planning a game mode inspired by that as well. A game mode inspired by Stargate Universe. So not the Stargate aspect of it, but the trying to understand and decode an alien starship whilst trying to limp it home to Earth. Yeah, so the idea I penned down was that the timeline-wise, it kind of takes place after mankind starts sending out these deep space exploration ships, and one of them gets caught in some kind of anomaly / gravity well and ends up pancaking on an asteroid, and so that ship is completely wrecked. But pancaked into the same asteroid, and not quite so badly wrecked, is an alien vessel. So you and a handful of crew members are able to make it over to this alien vessel in the only working shuttle that you have. And then that scenario essentially is you and those players, or NPCs, repairing and limping that alien ship home all the way back to Earth. Repairing it along the way, trying to work out how it works. We'll make it quite alien and quite different in terms of how it works to the UN ships. So it should be kind of half survival game, half puzzle game. It should be a lot of fun. I'm quite excited about it. Hi Alex, yeah, we're just fleshing out the rear of the sea deck. Need to bear in mind actually where the lid is going to fit into this. The maximum number of players is really dependent on the hosting hardware, so it's session based. So if you've got a beefy PC and a really big internet connection, then you're going to be able to host more players than someone on a mid-range PC on low-end broadband. So it's entirely down to whoever is hosting and what their spec is. NPC crew wise, it's going to be 200, and the ship will always have 200 crew. It's just going to be a case of, will those crew members be NPCs or will they be players? And every time a new player joins, one NPC is replaced, so it'll balance it out that way. Three decks, Alex. So C, D, and E are serviced by this side stairwell. And I suppose technically C, D, E, and F are serviced by the rear stairwell here, because the cargo bay will extend all the way to the back. Yeah, we will have the option to turn off the NPCs. So if you just want a full player crew without any NPCs sort of taking up the slack and doing everything, then yeah, you'll be able to turn them off. Realise these bits are too long, so they need shortening. That can go away, I think. Yeah, don't need that for now. Yeah, there will be a dedicated server client at some point. It shouldn't even be too difficult to set up, it's just we haven't got around to it yet. Yeah, I guess Minecraft is the model we're using for quite a few things in the game. So, you know, the session-based multiplayer, sort of drop in, drop out whenever you want. You know, that's kind of inspired by how Minecraft does it. I guess the procedural generation of stuff is akin to Minecraft. I think Minecraft is actually a really good example of something which is really approachable. It's a very sort of open, approachable game, and I think we'd like to be the same. Josh, yeah, I've been using SketchUp for 6 years now. Yeah, about 6 years. It has its annoyances, but yeah, I find it very efficient for what I do. Right, I need to chop this in half. So let's take these two. So these should be mirrored over this side. I was stuck on 2022 because I didn't want to go through the hassle of reinstalling and updating all the plugins. I have now since upgraded to 2024 and gone through that hassle, and as predicted, there are plugins that I've missed, and I will have to go and sort some of that out. And what I don't like about 2024 is that they've made all the icons the same color, so it's harder to see at a glance. Like the eraser used to be red, and I used to know that red blob up there was always the one I clicked on. But now that it's blue, like everything else, it's just not as intuitive. Are you a component? No, you're not. Why are you not a component? Yeah, I mean it was fairly straightforward, and the Sketchucation extension store conveniently updated all my licenses just by installing the store. All the licensing suddenly worked, which was nice. I didn't have to go digging around for license files. See, I went to press a button that's not there, so I did have some buttons for like softening and unsoftening edges. SketchUp is definitely better, a lot better with plugins. There's so much stuff I do which is just purely plugin. There's very little of the original functionality that I actually use. So we want to split them into group, and then split them into another group. Essentially what we're doing here is we are making a framework block. So again, the ship is constructed out of these block sections that are all welded together. And because this section was all sort of prototyping, we didn't get as far as actually defining the blocks. So that's what I'm doing here. Yeah, the licensed content is exactly what it might sound like. That is us approaching existing IP holders and saying, hello, we have a space game and we like to simulate giant starships. You have lots of giant starships in your franchise. Can we please use one in our game? Here's a wad of cash for your troubles. Yes, Alex, that's right. There's no guarantee that anyone's going to say yes, of course. Yeah, I mean we've been through it already. When we were doing the Orville, we had conversations with I can't remember who it was now. I know we spoke to Disney at one point, and there was also the previous owners of the franchise, and they had a lot of commercial questions, a lot of things relating to, what's our marketing budget like, and what's our pedigree in the industry. How are we going to treat their franchise? Are we going to add story? Are we going to change any of their canon? There are lots of questions that IP holders want answers to. Luckily we've been through that. We know the score. But we also therefore know what we need to do in order to give ourselves the greatest chance of success, and that really means having an established title which is successful and loved by the community. Without that, they are never going to agree to any kind of licensing deal. And the other thing with the licensing is that, again, we've learned through experience that the franchises don't want you messing with their canon. They don't want you adding new stories or having their existing characters getting up to new and different things. And that kind of works in our favor, because what we want to do is just build starships. We're not interested in the characters or the plot lines or the locations. We just want to do a simulation of one of their ships, or one of their ships at a time, and fly it around our existing galaxy. So that removes one layer of complexity from the problem. yeah, we will not be approaching any external IP holder unless the game is decently finished and playable. Otherwise, again, we're just shooting ourselves in the foot there. What extensions am I using? Well, I am using all of these. Predominantly, it is all the TomTom ones and all the Freddo 6 ones. So these two plugin authors are really, really good. So they've extended SketchUp so much over the years. So really anything that these two authors do, I would highly recommend. Right now, Michael, I am just working out the extent of the framework block that makes up the rear portion of the ship here on C deck. Oh, that's really cool, Kamikaze. Yeah, I wanted to be an architect growing up. That definitely would have been my career of choice had I not got into IT. And obviously from there, game dev. My sister's an architect, funnily enough. Yeah, there are some collision issues, and something I've noticed actually, on, like, take this for example. I was working on the stairs. I've removed a lot of the old geometry from this so I can make the stairs bigger. So right now we should be using a complex collision as simple. And if we go and actually, this one isn't flagged for nanite because it has glass, so that's something else I need to do. Oh, unless they fixed that in 5.4. Have they fixed that? Don't know. Well, it's doing better than it did. I think it's just using the fallback mesh. So you never used to be able to have glass with nanites on a mesh. So obviously they've half fixed that in that it's now using the fallback mesh, but that's no good. Anyway, off on a tangent. When you re-import a mesh, and I have don't import collisions ticked because I don't want it to keep importing collisions. So we've got our collision complexity as complex as simple because it doesn't have a custom collision mesh at this point. If I just re-import that mesh, you'll notice that it's already changed the collision complexity to project default, and it took it upon itself to do that. So I imagine that is a result of me unticking that, although it is ticked. That's interesting. Huh. I think that's a bug. It definitely shouldn't be resetting collision complexity when you re-import a mesh. Get rid. There's one. Yeah. I'm calling that an engine bug. That shouldn't be happening. But as a result of that, every time I update a mesh, if I don't forget, or if I do forget rather, to go in here and change that back, then we have no collisions for that mesh. So that's going to be a pain. Especially if I'm importing like dozens and dozens of meshes, one after another, inevitably I'm going to miss one. So I need to keep a careful eye on that. Just grab a copy of this edge here. Need to go back and have a look at what plugins I was using, because there's a few tricks I'm missing here which speeds up the process somewhat. Right, so there's our edge. You make that a group, and then we paste that edge into the group. That should be able to give us our next section. There's a few misaligned bits there, but I shall come back to that edge. so that bit and that bit get joined together into another block. Yep, still working on the bits of C deck. We're at the back of C deck at the moment. Right, so this is one of the top bits. And then this is another top bit. So these are the lids for the framework block that makes up that section of the ship. So when combined, and lore-wise with the manufacturing of the vessel, why are they joined together? I don't want them joined together. Bring that back in a sec. Yeah, so lore-wise, this is kind of what the construction yard would be producing. It would be this section of the ship, and then that gets welded to the top of D deck, and then welded along these lines to join it together. It's exactly how real-world naval vessels are constructed currently. So aircraft carriers, mega ships, they're all built that way. I'm envisioning an orbital shipyard with multiple manufacturing bays, and each of those bays are spitting out these framework blocks, and then there'll be a construction area where they're all welded together. Yes, you will see the ship getting built. I did a test video for that. Hang on, let me see if I can find it. Found it first time. That was lucky. Yeah, so I just did a test render on my own channel. And essentially that's what we're going to do. So we'll have a model for our space dock, and you'll see the ship being put together literally piece by piece, all the welding and everything happening. It should prove to be pretty epic. Oh, that's cool, ERN. I don't think I actually got that file. It might have ended up going to Claire. I'll have to double check. Yeah, I will be fascinated to check that out. Right, so now that I've done that, you need to be separated. I think geometry-wise, I think this bit is practically the same as this bit. Almost to the millimetre. Obviously that one's got a corridor running through it, so they do actually have to be separate meshes. I do try and modularize things as much as possible, because the more we can modularize, the less work we have to do. Like, the ship is mirrored down the middle, so technically I'm only actually having to build half a ship because the other half is mirrored. Copy paste for the win. Yes, Michael. So right now, the reason that the streams are kind of focused on framing out the ship is because that's really what needs to be done for the next demo update. Right now the ship is in pieces and it needs the rest of the hull putting back together again before we can do a demo update. So it's kind of a demo blocker. But once that's done, then my next job is going to be fleshing out the beginnings of the alien life generation code. So that's going to be finishing off the UI on the sensors and actually doing that work of starting to do the tech levels and working out the age of a civilization depending on the age of a planet and all that stuff. So that is coming on future streams as soon as this work is done. That's very much the next thing on my list. So let's get this bit exported. So here's the question. Do we even have the right file format, that is? Yes, we do. Don't want texture maps. Model units is fine. Don't think we want Y up on that one. Right, so let's give that a try. So this is 1, 2, 3, so this will be ring 3. I've upgraded to 2024. I was hoping it would fix some issues I was having with both performance and faces being drawn when I didn't want them to be. Performance does seem better, to be fair, but it didn't fix the face problem, so I'm still stuck with that. So this is framework, CDEC. Did I call it something different? I don't think I did, so this is just going to be the aft walls. Oh yeah, I already do have it. Great. That's fine. It also seems to export slightly quicker as well. That's nice. Yeah, I've made some pretty garish UIs myself. I need to add a random button as well. That could be interesting. Right, so this is the one that we are re-importing, and let's see, is it in the right place and is it the right size and is it the right way up? I use SketchUp Pro. Yeah, there will definitely be a gym. The whole nose end of the ship is going to be dedicated to that sort of thing. So I think we're good. That's right scale, right way up. Awesome. That means that this one, actually I will just get rid of this because it didn't need to be there. I think I accidentally put in a thing there. I bet that's this one. Oh, it is. Look. You shouldn't be there. You should be here. Make sure it's on both sides. Yeah. Actually, this is something I did yesterday. One of the issues that I have on the current live build, come down here to, oh no, I already imported it. Hang on, let's check the deck below. D-deck walls. Missing a few bits. But anyway, this bit here, I couldn't really work out the best way of wrapping that round as well as giving a door frame here. So I decided that if I just extend this wall outwards a little bit, that just solves all the problems. It means we've got that 50 centimeter gap there on both sides, which means, like on here, this is obviously the bracket where we attach the wall panel, which means you can have a wall panel fit that entire end section, then a separate one which can wrap around and attach onto there. It just makes that whole area easier to model and, you know, fit everything together. Again, this is all about, you know, the actual logistics of building the thing. You know, how does that panel attach? Where does it make the most sense to put the bracket? Right, and that should now have got rid of that extra bit that I didn't want. I'm lost. Where am I? Here I am. Export this bit a sec. So that was framework, C deck, aft walls there. This one, same deal, except this one's going to be ring 4. So ring 4 framework, C deck, aft walls. Good night, Prometheus. Thanks for joining the stream. Fobek, yes, they'll be bolted on and the bolts will be visible. For framework C deck aft. So I do actually have a mesh for this already. Wow, complicated. Make sure we've got collisions turned off. Okay. Weld line. Oh yeah, that's something that pleased me. With 5.4, they have changed the way they do nanite tessellation, and before we had an issue where you couldn't get too close to it, whereas now you can. There is no near clip problem on that, although that's not a terrible example because that one's not actually tessellated. Hang on. There we go. Right. So again, this one's tessellated and there's no near clip issues, which means that the welds are now lumpy. I imagine any professional welder out there is going to look at this and have a stroke, but it just has to look pretty. Yeah, I noticed that if you kind of stick your face in it, it was causing a bit of a freeze or a lockup, but it doesn't seem to be happening for me now. Where's some carpet? Like going into the carpet was just causing some serious hitching, but it seems absolutely fine now. Definitely not locking up. I need to get a better height map for the carpet material. I mean, it looks fine from like this kind of height, but as Claire says, it looks like a mountain range if you get too close. Yeah, so I think I'm using a paint height map to do the welds, which is why it's kind of just uniformly bumpy. It's an abstract weld, but I'll get one which is like properly looped, and that should look a lot nicer then. Fredichet, this is insulation material for interstellar radiation and any other nastiness that space is going to throw at the ship. It also includes these packages of sealant material, so if the package bursts and that sealant is exposed to vacuum, it will rapidly expand and harden, thus filling any hole that was just made. So it's kind of a safety measure as well. I need a better material because this one's a bit uniform and a bit lame looking. I'd rather it was sort of triangles or hexagons or something like that. I need to get a 2D person to make a better material. All the pipes and cables will be running in front of it. Where are we? Over here. Right. So, C-deck framework walls, and we need to find the asset we just made, which was ring 4, and that was C-deck aft walls, so that goes in there. And again, these framework block sections all use the world origin for the simple reason that it makes positioning them precise, and they're static objects within the world, so they're not interactive in any way. All we use them for is the attachment point for wall panels and things. So it doesn't matter that they're using the world origin, it just makes my life easier for these particular panels. Right, okay, so these are proper sections now, which is good. So I guess next they need windows, so let's do that. I could have swore I had a template set up for that already, but obviously I didn't, so I'll have to steal one. Right, so there's no window there because that's going to be one of those "you are here" maps, which means there's a window there, 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 there. Right, so all these ones need windows, which means we need to kind of define where the midpoint of these meshes is. Have a good one, Jim. Thanks for joining. I agree. Hex is best. Yes, this is a stairwell. So you'll have a railing across here, and the stairs will go down this way. So this is the top, and they'll go down into the upper section of the shuttle bay. So there will actually be, if we turn on deck template, so you can see here's one I prepared earlier. So those stairs go down there, and they're actually to either side of what will be a grand staircase style structure. Obviously these are just placeholders, it's not going to be using these meshes. Lost. So the way up is at the sides, and the way down will be from here, and this will take you down onto E-deck below. And this area is kind of the main entry point from the shuttle bay, so we want it to be nice looking. And then really the addition of the side stairs up to C-deck is just a convenience addition, just to provide, you know, another way up into C-deck. Yeah, so C-deck actually has, so you've got one spiral staircase each side, so that's 2. Those 2, so that's 4, plus the middle, 5. So there's actually 5 ways up and down from C-deck. Maybe even 6 actually, because the astrometrics lab at the front here is going to be 2 decks tall, which means we have to lose these crew cabins. So if we choose to have a door at the bottom there, then that's another way down through the astrometrics. Yeah, plenty of ways up and down. Yeah, I think I'm going to relent and have an elevator running up the center of the lift of the stairs here. I wanted to make it a planter with a tree, but realistically it could do with just being an elevator. Yeah, we'll have to see what space we have for that, because so this grey area here, which is way too big, is going to be the shuttle control room. So there are going to be windows here looking out over the shuttle bay at the back. So really, either side of that, we do have room for an elevator, but kind of the back of C-Deck kind of ends here. So if it's going to be anywhere, it has to be forward of this. So potentially, I could move these doors and have one here next to these stairs. I'll have to have a look at the access and going to see what makes the most sense. Yeah, the cargo bays are underneath, so if I turn on the E-Deck template, it's a bit hard to make out because there's a lot of mess, but so with this being the shuttle bay at the back, you've got like the main entrance lobby there with a staircase. These amazing high detailed shuttles. So that whole space is the shuttle bay, and in the front here, as it is in the current demo, there will be a cargo lift going down into the cargo holds, which are kind of slung underneath, and they connect all the way to the back of F-Deck, and they are actually there in the demo now. So where you start on the cold start tutorial, if you turn 180 degrees, you walk through what would be the cargo holds to the back of the shuttle bay lift. What platform are you running on, Crazy Ghost Hunters? That's not the way round, it should be that way round. But yeah, so we're now actively recruiting for a concept artist and a web dev to sort out all the stuff that we need to do on the website. And we're also talking to one of our ex-colleagues from Messy Desk, who is one of the ex-devs from Stage 9. And he's interested in being an Unreal generalist on the project. They've done a lot of good work themselves on character systems and their own personal project. So I think they'd be a good addition to the team. Just need to finalise, contracts and that sort of thing. Yes, Miner. They should still be in the armory room. Nonny nonny. I haven't moved them. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Cove is extremely talented. The work they did on the Defiant was amazing. So it'd be nice to have that talent on board. And it was important that our first hire be someone like me, I guess, who's an Unreal generalist. I do the coding and I do the modeling and anything in between that needs doing. When you have a small team, the more generalists you can have on that team, the better. Ah, nice, I didn't know that. Hi Sarah, yes, thank you, everything is going well. Making sure that I've got these windows at the same height across the board consistently, because no one likes inconsistent heights. Yeah, and I have, like, they're 10 centimeters off. Which means my little template's wrong. That's better. For it, yeah, I think for this ship in particular, the information that will be available on the bridge should be sufficient. So the hollow display will be able to display tactical information no differently than the way it does for the sensors, and indeed engineering as well. So the situational awareness for the command staff should all be there on the hollow display. And hopefully in practice that will prove to be the case. Actually, that's one of the things I find exciting about doing this is because we are sort of simulating it realistically. The systems that we're building have to work as though they were real, because we're building them as though they're real, and you use them as if they were real. So, in terms of practicality, they're no different than a real system, so they have to be functional as such. So we're not going to enforce any kind of rule where anyone working for the studio also has to stream what they're doing. Not everyone likes or is comfortable streaming. It certainly took me a while to become comfortable with it. If they want to, then they are most welcome to. We would certainly encourage them to. But it definitely won't be a forced thing. Thank you, Cohen. Yeah, it's yeah, for me, it's such a big deal. when I wanted to go through that thought process of designing a starship and designing the systems and thinking about if we were to build one of these things for real, how would it need to work? What kind of command interface would it need, and all those sort of questions. And it's brilliant to explore that. I didn't make that a component. That's also the reason why we're not having anything as like an in-game pop-up menu. Every single ship function, every single piece of information about the ship has to come from the ship itself. We won't have a star map on a separate screen that you load up. It has to be available on the ship as if it was real. 100% complete immersion. Not on this ship, James. Every crew member on this ship has their own personal quarters, which is just theirs. And the reason for that being that this is a multi-year exploration mission where the crew are predominantly civilian scientists. So this isn't a military vessel. We need to think about civilian mental health, living on a ship so far from home. Having your own personal space is important. Oninani, yeah, and it's funny you should mention that because I noticed this as well, and you'll notice that those windows are actually fine in the editor. So I haven't changed anything, they're totally fine, and yet if I press play, then these have a metal texture on them. And I think there's something going on with the normals. I think there's reverse normals or something, but only when you press play. So that's actually the very reason why I am removing these glass panels from the mesh itself, so they're not on there at all. So that will fix that problem. Again, I think that's another bug. Yeah, the checkerboard is Unreal's default material. So that's interesting again for whole different reasons. But what I'm doing now should fix that. So here I'm taking that mesh out entirely and then just putting it in position so it's not connected. So none of these windows are connected. So when I actually go through and reverse the faces on those, and then we give them a glass material. Boop. So when I actually export the glass, that will be done separately as a separate object, because nanite still can't do transparency. But it's better having it as a separate object anyway, because that means we can do things to it, like the polarization and all that sort of stuff. The ship is cooled, if you mean hardware-wise, there's a lot of liquid helium cooling going around the system, and as that liquid helium heats up, it is recooled using magnetic refrigeration. So there is a type of material, and I cannot remember the name of the material, but essentially when you move a magnet back and forth through this material, it gets extremely cold. This is a real world technology. It exists today already. You can use also a Stirling engine to create cryo temperatures. Durgan McDragon, this game is Starship Simulator, for which I am the developer. Helix, yeah, if you are a concept artist, then please contact Claire, would probably be easier, either on Discord or use contact at fleetyard.co.uk. Just send us a portfolio of what you do. But generally speaking, we're looking for someone who is really good at designing starships and spaceships and has a real eye for detail when it comes to starship design. And maybe, and this may be the same person or a different person, someone who's really good at starship interiors. Because, things like, for example, this needs a ceiling. Or even better example, the main stairwell ceiling, I think is horrid. So a concept artist who can come up with some really nice ceiling detail and that sort of thing. Cohen, yeah. If you look at this one, it'll probably be easier. If I turn off the edges, every single one of these little gaps here in the corridors is a bulkhead. So as you can see, this deck alone has got dozens and dozens of bulkheads. So this area here can be considered a pressure vessel, and then this area here can be considered a pressure vessel. So if you were to close all of these bulkheads, then you've got dozens and dozens of isolated pressure vessels all over the deck, and that'll be same on every deck. Fizzbrain, thank you. Yeah, it was magnetocaloric. That's the word I couldn't remember. It was the caloric bit that confused me. But yes, that stuff. Is that you, Cove? welcome to the stream. Oh, autosave, why do you do this to me? So normally what I'm doing here would be very much a copy-paste job, but because of the Bezier curve of this corridor, every single one of these wall panels is slightly different and therefore needs to be done separately. Price you pay for a slightly more interesting hull shape. Yeah, so again, with liquid helium and magnetic refrigeration, you've essentially got almost an infinite cold well to dissipate heat into. That aside, you've got radiators on the outside of the ship, because space itself is an infinite heatsink, albeit slow. I appear to have missed a window. Hang on a minute, something weird's going there. That's better. So 6 windows there, 6 windows there, and then 2 for the remaining of the run. Okay, that keeps that nice and balanced. Yeah, I mean, ultimately, there's going to be an upper limit as to how much heat you can dissipate from the ship. Yeah, the shielding and the cooling that the ship has can only go so far. So if you're hanging around in the vicinity of a star, then eventually everything's going to have to overheat. It's an interesting question about how big can ships be. And the easy answer to that is we don't actually know. So physically, it's not about the size of the ship, it's about the object count of the ship and the memory footprint of all the textures and the physical mesh assets, because all those things have to be loaded into RAM and indeed VRAM. So, you know, the ship could be 10 miles long quite easily, but you couldn't have 10 miles worth of stuff inside the ship. So if it was 10 miles worth of mostly empty hull, then yes, you could have that, you know, quite happily within the game. What we don't know is what our upper limit is on object complexity and object count. That's why we've gone for a 300 meter ship with 200 crew to kind of stress test that. It might be the case that this ship is on the small side of what's capable, or this could be literally as big as we can go, but we'll find that out over time. Sea deck aft walls. Yeah, I mean, really, it depends on how good our optimization is. I mean, if you're using streaming levels for various bits of the ship, then it could be infinitely large. Yeah, I suppose you could stream, the ship geometry, but well, I mean, yeah, I mean, there is mesh streaming within Unreal. You've got texture streaming, mesh streaming, so yeah, it's definitely possible. We're already using texture streaming, albeit the pool size is about 4 gig. It's starting to come together. If we turn on the hull, that's not the hull I was looking for. Yeah, that's the one I was looking for. Yeah, this space here should have quite a nice feel to it with the stairwell. I like how, as you come up the stairs and enter the corridor, you're kind of greeted with all these windows, and you'll have the ship's ring visible as you're walking along. I'm actually going to remove some of these windows here opposite this, because this is a heatsink. Talking of heatsinks, this is a heatsink for the FTL coil, and we don't really want the heatsink radiating on the window, so we'll block those 2 windows off. Bridge is up there. Tweak, yeah, that's actually pretty much what we have planned. So the idea with the campaign, or indeed just starting a new mission, is that you'll actually start off in the space dock and physically board the ship before you leave, which I think will be all kinds of immersive. Right then, so I guess the next thing I need to do, I need to sort out some of this flooring, get this all put through. That's interesting. Oh, I think I might know what's causing that. Hang on, if it's not... No, it's not what I thought it was. That's interesting, actually. I think it's because this isn't even a double-sided material, so that's a single plane. It looks like there's two planes there. Let's re-export that and see. That would be this one. So what's this? This is ring two wing walls. Let's just re-import this a minute. Yeah, see, this is the thing I was saying, that there's no face there, and yet there is there. Oh, hang on, is this? Have I got some? Oh, I have. Look, I've got some additional geometry there. That's why. That's why I couldn't see it before, because I had that turned off. Right then, so that's something else entirely. So, which piece are you? Ring 2 framework CDEC sheet. Okay. Ah, okay, right. So we don't want none of that. So I definitely need the one with the extra piece, which means that one should be redundant. So ring 2 framework CDEC. Obviously this particular mesh needs a lot of polish yet. It's probably lost its collisions, yeah, of course it did. Right, there we go, that fixes those windows. So my kind of line in the sand for this being like finished in air quotes for CDEC is to have this hull plating extended out across all of the metalwork. So at least it's got its paneling in and its window there. and there needs to be a couple of skylight windows here, because beneath this section, this is going to be what is essentially the mall, where you're going to have the main crew mess, park at the front, cinema, gym, all that kind of stuff. It's all going to be in this space at the front. Nice, right, okay, so that hole needs plugging. And I'm really hoping that we can get the cinema to play local files. So the idea is to be able to have a folder within the games directory, and you could put just like MKV files in there or something and be able to play them within the game. Exactly that, yes. Yeah, we won't license anything, but simply providing the facility to be able to put a file in a folder means that it's the responsibility of whoever's using those files to make sure they don't do anything dodgy, which is a matter out of our hands. So, going to be a few complicated bits here. Kind of regretting the fact that I deleted the inner ceiling for this mesh, but I shall create another one. That needs to be up there a little bit. And what do I already have in the way of a top piece? Just that. Okay. Actually, better idea. All I actually need to do is take this with that. How best to do this? Right, if I explode that group. Really, we're only interested in the lower faces of all of these, so if I explode all that as well, let's keep exploding all these groups. So I don't want any of that. Any of those. Okay, so technically that's going to work, but I've just made it really messy. So let's try and do that in a less messy way. Right, so if we explode that, make everything unique. These ones shouldn't affect any of the others. No, great. Are still not unique. Make sure I'm not butchering any existing geometry that I don't want to lose. Better. So what I'm actually making here, this is the top section that goes on top of the ceiling, and this is where we'll be cutting the holes for all the infrastructure and the roof. But just to save time, I don't want to have to redraw these bits. So I'm just getting rid of all the bits we don't need. That bit doesn't matter. It's quicker to delete it than it is to draw it again. This one's in a straight line, so it's not a bother. So that should, oh, apart from that bit, all the bits we don't need gone. So the next thing we need... Oh. Autosave says hi. RAJ, yeah, well spotted. There will be holes. So these pieces here are going to have holes cut in them, running infrastructure through. I haven't done that yet because I don't quite know how much we're going to need, but yes, that's where they'll be going. Great. Okay, that's going to save us a bit of time. Raise that up a bit so that we don't select the wrong group. So for the bulk of these, I'm going to have to extrude the faces and then cut them into the ultimate outer hull sheet because they're going to be taller. I could have done this as one long object, but I want to keep them separated just in case I do anything with them in the future. Like if I need to cut a hole or something like that, I'd rather them be a separate object. It's going to need a bit of slicing there. Controller support is going to be coming in the next patch cycle. So after we've done the planetary scanning and all that stuff, then the next patch cycle after that is going to be sublight engines and sublight flight, including the ability to bump the ship into things in space, and controller support will be coming with that. Also in that patch cycle will be wormholes. It's the prerequisite for wormholes is the ability to collide with things. So obviously you need to be able to physically interact with the wormhole in order to use it. I might keep a couple of these around actually, because that's my weld line template. Yeah, wormholes are actually going to be really easy to implement because with the way that we've built the galaxy and the ship flight and everything, the whole thing is driven by the ship's actual direct coordinates. So all you need to do is change the ship's coordinates and the galaxy redraws around it. So for something like wormholes, as soon as you fly into the wormhole, we change the ship's coordinates and boom, operational wormhole. Yeah, there will definitely be floor lights. That's one of the reasons for raising the floors up the way we did. I'll show you in a sec what I have planned there. Of course, I'm forgetting that we actually have a bulkhead in the middle there, so that just needs a small adjustment. So this one should fit exactly in the space that's left there. Actually it does, good. That means the measurements are good. Right, and then similarly, this one should exactly fit this gap here. had my suspicions then when I did the rotate, because it said approximately 45 degrees. We don't want any approximates here. It's a bit better. Right, so where are we doing the join here? So that floor piece there, and that piece there, they form the top of that deck, block rather. So if we turn that back on, right, so I'm going to have to bring them up a bit and start chopping. This bit's going to be interesting. So essentially I'm joining it to that. So one interesting advantage we have with the shape of this top section on C deck is that the ceiling cavity is quite a bit bigger than what would typically be in the bit between decks, which means on this outer area here we can actually raise the ceiling up a bit. So I might make this potentially all the way up to there, to give these sections sort of more of a ceiling loft, so you're sort of walking out into much more of an open space. I won't do that now, but I think that's generally where I'm going to go with that. That needs to come down by 10. I was just thinking then whether or not this can serve for every ceiling all the way around, but of course it can't, because we've got the VIP lounge, which takes up a bunch of that space. Right, so that definitely has to be, I think, just the default top section. So what's this? This is 0, 1, 2. So this is ring 2, framework, C deck, top. Right, which should just be that bit under there. Picked up a bit of a template texture from somewhere. Sure where from though. Oh, is it the internal face? I shall investigate. Right, so holes need cutting through this. So obviously on the ceiling, you need the ceiling cavity visible with the HVAC and everything running through it. Then it needs raising up and cutting through. At least we've got some ceiling there. That's good. Which one's this? So that's one of the airlocks, which you can't really do yet. What else needed sorting? Right, so that needs turning into a proper top piece, just like this one. Or does it? Yeah. Yeah, so these two pieces here could have been identical and copied, except there's no bulkhead on this side, so the number of panels there is slightly different. So when I cut the holes through, the holes won't line up, so this one does need to be a separate piece. Annoyingly, because otherwise that would be convenient. That aside, yeah, it's mostly just clean up from there. So, right, I will export out this piece, I think. Let's get rid of the bits that are in the way. Yeah, so this is 0, 1, 2, 3, so this is ring 3 forward. So it's nearly 11 PM here, so I'm going to give it another 10 minutes and I shall head off. This one should be ring 4, airlock walls. Thinking actually I've got this curve to do. think I'll get rid of this bit, curve that through. I'll keep this bit here for stability's sake. So in here then, you should get rid of the last of that temporary geometry there. Don't need those curve bits anymore. I would like it if the warp effect was lensed. That would be really cool if you could see it lensing, especially from the outside. So when you see a ship go to warp, you see, like, obviously the lensing ball fly off into the distance. But we could do with a technical artist to work on some of that stuff. And also for the black holes as well. And neutron stars, anything like that requires lensing. It would be good to have actual proper world lensing. The only technique I know to do world lensing, where did I take well done? Welding, is by taking a 360 screenshot of the environment and then applying that to a render target. And then you do the lensing on the render target to basically give you the effect of lensing the world. But that's extremely performance heavy, so not something I'm keen to do. So we need someone who could do that in a more efficient way. And ultimately the warp visuals will be selectable by the player. So I want to have a range of different ones that you can pick through, from magic space clouds like we've got now to none at all, so you literally just see the stars moving. Did I fix the collisions on the last one? I bet I didn't. Nope. Right, so this is going to be the airlock main corridor. So we'll have 4 airlocks along here. The plan here is to have 2 large airlocks on each side with a landing pad, and then some kind of force field bubble that goes over it so that you can land and get out. So we'll have a play around with that concept and see which works best. Now, on early access you'll have this ship and all of the backer ships as well. So we're building at least 12 other vessels and a similar amount of shuttles and things as well. This will be the only big one. The other ones will be much smaller. Fredichet, yeah. So the actual airlock room is all of this. So, you know, the physical airlock itself won't take up all of this room. So the bulk of this space is going to be like uniform lockers and, you know, all the equipment that you might need to take outside of the ship. So when you're doing, you know, repairs on the hull and that sort of thing, this is where you'll be exiting out onto the outer hull to kind of walk across and do repairs. So we'll probably have tools and things, you know, tool lockers and the like. Okay, well, I think that is me done for now. It's 11 p.m. practically here in the UK, so I'm going to go and have a drink and have something to eat, and then I shall settle down for my evening of just focusing on stuff. I don't think I had any announcements to make on this stream. I think we're just plodding along as we are. So expect to see another dev build coming up this Friday, and of course another stream Wednesday evening at the usual time of 8 p.m. BST. And yeah, I think that is all for me, so thank you again for joining me on stream, and I shall see you on Wednesday evening. Bye for now.